and welcome to another edition of Crime Lies and Alibis. My name is Nicole, and this is for educational purposes and adult content only. Viewer discretion is advised. I'm going to give a little bit of facts, kind of with my opinion on this. I have so much to cover with Lori Vallow Daybell's current trial. She does have trial again today. I missed it on Friday. There's been a whole lot of drama surrounding these two trials, and I know that a lot of people are like, I wish she would have just taken a plea deal. She's just getting more jail time. This is a waste of resources. It's one of those things that's not really setting well with a lot of people, but also is something that needs to be done because she's trying really very hard to get overturned her trial for having her children murdered. And I don't think that's going to happen, but you know, it's just all about making sure that she stays where she is because she is an active threat to the public. So I don't want to make this video a long one. I just want to touch on Alex Cox. Now, this is Lori's older brother. They had, because he's dead now, they had a very weird relationship. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced a young child. I mean, I guess they even kind of do this into adulthood too, but when the younger one gets themselves into a sticky situation or into an altercation with someone else, and they go and they get their bigger sibling to kind of handle things for them, that feels like a lot of what happened when it came to the relationship dynamic between Alex and Lori. He was her great defender. He would come to her aid whenever she needed him. He was the one who, quote, shot Charles in self-defense, which it was found that it was actually a conspiracy to commit murder. She was found guilty for that in May. So here's what's weird about Alex's death. And I'm not going to read this article verbatim. You can find it. It's the eastidahonews.com. And it says it was published on May 8th, 2020. And then it was updated that same day. Obviously this was before a bunch of trials occurred, so it really hasn't been updated since. I'm going to get to the end of it, but the end bothers me a whole lot. So Gilbert, Arizona, Alex Cox, Lori Vallow Daybell's brother, had blood clots in his lungs, high blood pressure, and died of natural causes. That's according to the report released Friday from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner. Cox, 51, was found unresponsive on his bathroom floor and pronounced dead at the hospital December 12, 2019. The medical examiner has been working on the case for months and on Friday released a 7-page report along with a 4-page toxicology summary in relation to the investigation. Maricopa County Medical Examiner Leslie Wallace said Cox died of bilateral pulmonary thromboly, meaning blood clots got wedged into arteries, I probably said that wrong, of his lungs. Wallace determined that the hypertensive cardiovascular disease, plaque buildup in the arteries, led to high blood pressure and contributed to his death, which could be possible. I'm not saying that he didn't have high blood pressure. I don't know his medical history, obviously. The medical examiner's report shows detectives wrote that Cox complained of shortness of breath and chest pain for about a week before being found unresponsive. On December 12th, he was found unconscious in his bathroom, found by feces, according to a 911 call obtained by eastidahonews.com. First responders were called and rushed Cox to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Here's where I'm like, okay. So Cox's wife of 2 weeks, Zulema, told investigators he had no prior medical history and did not take any regular medications, according to a report. Cox weighed 227 pounds and was 6'1". He appeared relatively healthy on the outside, but when the medical examiner opened up Cox's body, it was a different story, according to reports. Inside his lungs were arteries clogged by blood clots, and other arteries had severe buildup of plaque, leading to high blood pressure. Wallace also found non-cancerous tumors inside his liver, an enlarged prostate, and polyp in the digestive tract. The medical examiner performed extensive tests, including a toxicology report, which showed caffeine and a drug called Narcan in his system. First responders gave Narcan to non-responsive people to reverse the effects of opioid overdose. Okay, so here's where it's like, there's a lot of speculation that he had been either over time or over the course of whatever slowly being poisoned. I mean, I don't know what comes up on toxicology reports. I'm not a medical examiner. However, he meets this woman, and I know that sometimes you just know it's your person. Whatever. You just meet them and you just know, a chorus of angels are singing hallelujah over your head, whatever. So he meets Zulema in November, at the beginning of November. I believe like the 29th of November or something like that. They're in Las Vegas. This is the third time they've seen each other. Like the third time they've met up. And they get married. So you meet someone, 3 weeks later you're getting married, and 2 weeks later the person's dead. So like in less than 6 weeks they met, got married, and he died. You don't know what his medical history is, Zulema. You don't know him long enough. You haven't known him long enough to know what his life was like before you came into the picture. You can't say, oh, he had a healthy life with no prior medical history and did not take any regular medications. How do you know? You've been married to him for 2 weeks. You've known him a little over a month. You don't know what his history is. Did they have deep conversations about it? I doubt it. Like, it just seems so weird. And I understand why people are like, is this a big cover up though? Like, I don't know why the Emmy would cover it up, because, I don't know what kind of pull Lori would have had there, or her family. But it just seems really strange that he seems like this healthy person. He's not severely overweight. He's tall. He seems physically fit on the outside. And I know that sometimes people can have illness going on the inside and they don't look at it from the outside. But this seems like a lot of compiled problems to not have any history of anything. Like, I don't know when the last time he went to the doctor was, but I would feel that it was strange that if he had severe plaque buildup and he had polyps and he had all these issues internally, that he should have had some kind of need to go to the doctors and be like, hey, I'm feeling kind of junky. I'm not feeling normal. It's just strange. And to have like a bunch of blood clots in his lungs. The toxicology screens were negative and there was enough embolic effect to make that the most probable cause. People who form clots usually have a reason, Bentley said. They've either had a prior clot or they have a clotting disorder. They have acute attributing factors. Those factors could include prolonged periods of immobilization, such as those who had recent surgery, a long airplane ride, or a lengthy road trip. He did say that blood clot killing Cox could have not have happened in the hands of someone else. Could it though? Like, it's not a chosen manner of death. They are saying specifically this is not a homicide and this did not occur with the evidence that they have at the time. The objective evidence would, to a reasonable degree of medical probability, lead the medical examiner to conclude that this is natural. At the bottom of Cox's medical exam report, Wallace included how the opinions are amendable to change should new, reliable, pertinent information come to light. The next step for Gilbert Police Department detectives assigned to the case will be to review the autopsy report in its entirety. The case is still active at this time. So why such a deep look at Alex? Alex Cox is Lori Vallow Daybell's brother and admitted to shooting her estranged husband, Charles Vallow, in self-defense last July, which, since it has not been labeled self-defense, it was a murder. It was an intended hit, essentially, if you want to use mob lingo. Months later, Cox moved to Rexburg and rented a townhome in the same complex as Daybell and her two children, 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow and 17-year-old Tylee Ryan. The children disappeared in September, and Cox was last known photos was seen in last known photos of Tylee at Yellowstone National Park. Surveillance, a video obtained by East Idaho News, shows him visiting a Rexburg storage facility in October with his sister and by himself several times. Video in November shows him opening a storage unit which had Daybell, Lori's new husband. Cox was never charged with any crimes, but a private investigator believes he fired a shot at Brandon Bordeaux, the ex-husband of Lori Daybell's niece, Melanie Bordeaux. Gilbert police are still investigating, according to Covey. Okay, so the trial that is going on right now was this attempted murder for Brandon Bordeaux. He's obviously still alive. He testified on, he testified on Friday. I still need to get into that before they go back into court today. I'm just going to be behind, I guess, perpetually behind, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So here's this timeline. He's last seen, and this is why it's just not sitting right with people. He was one of the last people to see Tylee and JJ alive. He's so deeply mixed up in all of Lori's bullshit that it almost seems improbable that he just happened to have this completely natural death despite being a visibly healthy person with no medical history of issues. Like, I would have thought that if he had a history of medical issues, okay, well, it makes sense, like, how he died the way he did. But none of this is gelling, other than the fact that Lori's husband, who was Tylee's biological father, is dead. He died in 2017, but he didn't just die in 2017. His death was questionable. His death was like, oh, this is weird. So let's see. Joseph Ryan. This is Tylee's dad, biological father. We'll just pull up his find a grave. Why not? So this is Tylee's biological father. He is not the father of Colby, but Colby took his last name. So this is the man that Lori was married to before she married Charles Vallow. Jeez. She's got so many names and so many people she's been married to. It's nuts. I think she's been married 5 times. But anyway. So this is Joseph Anthony Ryan. This is Tylee's dad. And I believe 2017, and that'll come in another video, there was an altercation. Of course there was. There was an altercation between Joseph or Joe and Alex Cox. And Alex threatened Joseph, threatened to kill him, tased him, was arrested for the assault, and went to jail for the assault. So it was found that he did assault Joe Ryan. He did threaten Joe Ryan. There was no trial or anything, so I'm guessing he pled guilty to whatever. And that was that. Everybody washed their hands of it or whatever. So this was kind of one of those things to where, okay, he was born the 27th of November, 1958. He died April 3rd, 2018 at 59. So again, it's one of those things. He has this altercation with Alex, and less than a year later, he's dead. Now, brother of Ann Cushing, father of Tylee Ryan, Joseph Anthony Ryan Jr. was born on November 27th, 1958 in Bayonne, New Jersey, to June Ann Gordon, age 28, and Joseph Anthony Ryan Sr., 34. He had a brother, Thomas Patrick Ryan, and a sister, Annie Ryan Cushing. Joseph served for years as an officer in the U.S. Navy. In 2001, he married Lori Cox, and together they had a daughter, Tylee Ashlyn. Joseph Anthony Ryan died on April 3rd, 2018 in Phoenix, Arizona when he was 59 years old. His beloved daughter Tylee joined him in heaven the following year. So this is another one of those people surrounding Lori Vallow ending up dead. It's just seems to be the way it is when it comes to her. I'm gonna pull this up because this is one of those things that just, and I know I said I didn't want to make this a long video. I lied. Here comes Reddit. Reddit has been a pretty awesome resource for me. So this is Lori's family tree and suspicious death tracker. Thank you to True Crime Podcast Murder Radio for putting this together. So Janice and Barry Cox are the parents. Stacy Cope, Summer Cox, Adam, Alex, Lori. Stacy is dead. This is suspicious. I do not know the history behind this, but I will figure it out. Zulema, married to Alex a whole 2 weeks before his death. Lori was married to Nelson, then William, Joseph, Charles, and then Chad. So we have Alex is now dead. Joseph Ryan Jr. dead. Tylee is dead. JJ is dead. Charles is dead. Tammy Daybell is dead. These are all people closely related to Lori Vallow that are dead. And Brandon Bordeaux is still alive, but here we are with his attempted murder. So we have on 4/3/2018, Joseph Ryan Jr. died. And his death, according to what I've read so far, it's questionable. He wasn't found until quite a while after it happened. So I don't know what they were able to figure out with his death, and I don't want to say anything without knowing a little bit more finer details. But just that we have that it's suspicious, it could have been murder. Now, his death came a year before she met Chad Daybell. However, this kind of kickstarted this need that Lori had for an expensive lifestyle. So she was married to Charles, who was pretty successful in his own way when it came to money. And he had the $1 million life insurance policy that she wanted so desperately after she met Chad Daybell. But when Joseph died, she didn't get personal survivor benefits because she wasn't married to him. However, Tylee got Social Security benefits or survivor's benefits for being his child. So that money went to Lori. He also had a small life insurance policy. And I say small because while it's, a decent chunk to a lot of people, like, I don't know what I would do with $35,000, but, I wouldn't say no to $35,000. So she got, and I say she, it technically should have gone to Tylee, but that Lori spent it because Lori, again, had a very expensive lifestyle. So Lori got life insurance money for when Joseph died and was getting the survivor benefits for Tylee, which I believe really gave her the idea when it came to Charles and not wanting to be married to him anymore, but also didn't want a divorce. She had stated in one moment, but then in another said she couldn't stand to be around him anymore. But she didn't want a divorce. And it was funny because when she talked about not wanting a divorce, it was to the woman who had gone on a date and had been talking to Charles. And when she said, during this trial, do you normally date married men? Wait, Lori, you're telling investigators like an hour after Charles was shot that you were estranged, that you didn't want to be married to him anymore, that you had been trying to divorce him. And then when it comes to the woman that he was talking to, did you know that he was married? Do you normally date married men? Like that Pikachu face she's making, like, oh my God, it's so shocking. I can't believe it. So I don't think she necessarily wanted to be married to Charles. I mean, obviously she didn't, because she was having an affair with Chad. But she wanted the money. So she knew she would get survivor benefits because they adopted JJ together. And JJ being only 7 versus Tylee, she was only going to be getting survivor benefits for Tylee for another year. When she turned 18, those benefits were going to go away. So with JJ, she was looking at a good 10 years of getting survivor benefits for herself and for JJ. Because here's the thing, they didn't know she married Chad Daybell when she did. They didn't know that she was remarried or that JJ was even missing until it was called to question January, after they disappeared. It was January 2021 when it was alerted to the government, I guess, that they didn't know where JJ was and she was getting Social Security money for him. And they didn't know that she had married Chad Daybell, so she was getting survivor's benefits for Charles. Like, she was collecting this money and committing a fraud for months after JJ disappeared, because it is believed that they died, that JJ and Tylee died in September of 2019. I'm sorry, not 2021, 2020. It was found in January 2020 that she was receiving benefits for Charles Vallow being killed, but she was already remarried. See, you only get those survivor benefits if you're married. Once you remarry, those benefits go away. But they don't just go through the system and look to see whose status has changed. Unless it's reported to them and they open up an investigation, you are responsible for notifying the government if you get remarried. Why would Lori do that? So she wanted those perks and those benefits of being married to Charles and getting that survivor's benefit while also being married to Chad for whatever reason, because ugh. Anyway, so she was getting benefits for Tylee and she was getting benefits for JJ, despite both of them being gone. Now, they were not found until July of 2020, but September 2019 is when it's believed that they died. So here's Alex, and this is going back to the whole point of Alex and this strange situation where he died and this news article. So family reacts, and this makes me like, really? Alex's family issued a statement to East Idaho News through their attorneys. Alex's widow, and I shouldn't laugh because they were married, and I shouldn't be dismissive of how long people are married for, but Alex's 2-week widow that, you know, they'd met 3 times before they got married, might as well have been an arranged marriage for all intents and purposes, and might have been for all we know. Alex's widow, Zulema, along with his mother, Janice Cox, sister Summer Shiflett, and his niece, Melanie Pulowski, are pleased to see the report confirms that they knew and maintained since Alex's death on December 12th. In interviews with many news agencies, the family stated numerous times what they knew to be true. Alex's death had no sinister aspect. With a degree of vindication, the family hopes that the confirmation of this truth will all help all to step back, take a breath, and allow the truth to unfold through the process. Rampant rumors of evil plots and conspiracies rob the family of their time to grieve the loss of their husband, son, brother, and uncle. Even so, the family finds comfort in the medical examiner's findings that Alex Cox died of natural causes, or that you guys all got away with yet another murder. Because here's the thing. Yes, you don't want to destroy someone's ability to grieve the loss of their loved one. Okay, but like, also, don't you think you'd want to know if it was suspicious and not be like, yes, vindication, we were right all along? Like, you want to be right, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but he was outwardly healthy and had no previous medical problems, but all of a sudden you open him up and he's a disaster on the inside. And also, you take into consideration the other deaths surrounding him. So it's not like he's the only person in this circle of people who are dead. Alex was in the center of a lot of things. He was in the center of JJ and Tylee's deaths. He was in the center of Charles's death. He was centered around Joe and what happened to him. Like, okay, and also, again, another video, Summer is a freaking liar. And Janice has been caught in lies. And Melanie has been caught in lies. So these people are pleased. They knew and maintained since Alex's death. Well, I don't know. What does his other brother say? What's Adam saying? Does he think it's questionable? Because he testified against his sister during the last trial when it came to Charles. He firmly believes that Alex and Lori set Charles up. 100% he believes that. So, okay, Miss Janice and Miss Summer and Melanie, maybe I shouldn't be like calling people liars, but you know, I've seen some things that are gonna come up in other videos that show they're involved in some pretty sketchy crap and have aligned themselves with Lori. Well, you align yourselves with Lori, who is a convicted murderer several times over. So maybe you shouldn't be celebrating, and their opinions may have changed since this, but I doubt it, because they want the public to believe that Alex died of natural causes. They don't want to be like, well, you know, maybe he was eliminated because he needed to go. He knew too much. And oh, by the way, the reason it's questionable when Tammy died and why there's a nice little X that's the suspicion here is why Chad Daybell is on death row in Idaho, because she was exhumed after having died when? Oh, 10/19/19. Huh. She died 10/19/19. Alex died 12/12/19. So she died 2 months before Alex did. And by the way, 3 days after Tammy died, Chad and Lori got married. Alex, I'm trying to, oh my gosh. It won't let me zoom in anymore. Alex is centered around a lot of stuff. I need a Michael Schofield wall from Prison Break to show where Alex ties into things. So excuse us, the public, the Redditors, the people who are, you know, combing through all of this evidence and listening to all of the things. Excuse us if we're not so readily willing to accept that Alex died of natural causes when he was Lori's main general. If she needed anybody, her big brother was there to save her day. And I'm sorry if we think that that's weird as hell. I'm sorry if we think it's suspicious that he conveniently died 2 months after Tammy died, a year after his niece and nephew died, 2 people he was last seen with. Joseph Ryan died, someone who he had been imprisoned for assaulting and threatening. You know, so yeah, excuse us if we think that you're full of crap when you say, oh, we feel vindication because we knew this whole time. This is exactly how it was going to come out. Yeah, sure. Well, you know, we're going to keep digging. And if there's something out there